All right, to Republican strategist Kevin Paul Scott, conservative commentator Ashley Pratte. I want to pick up on a point, Ashley, that Jesse raised here, the uniqueness of this relationship. His point that Europe, regardless of whether there are rivalries among leaders, would welcome this U.S. president making overtures to Europe, period. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think, one, it is fascinating to me that he did accept this, given the fact that Macron a couple of times has shown some defiance to President Trump and has stood up to him. And I actually think Trump in some ways respects that. And seeing the pictures coming out of France this morning, it was really fascinating to me because you saw Macron with his arm around, President Trump.
I'm telling you, Ashley, it's a bromance. It's a bromance going on.
I think
they both strike me as huggers. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think something is happening here. Despite the rocky start, I do think the men have a lot more in common than people give them credit for. I think they both are the same type of leaders, but have different ways of going about their diplomacy. Obviously, one is a hashtag diplomacy, and the other is trying to more aggressively get things done. But with that said, I do think that this whole trip is kind of a coming together of sorts on how do we bridge some of these differences on policy, but how do we work together? And I think that Macron is really trying to position himself as a world leader, and by doing that realizes he needs to get in good and that the United States is a key ally. And in doing that, he needs to foster that relationship with President Trump. But I think Trump, again, respects him for somewhat being defiant in the beginning.
Kevin Paul Scott, you've looked at these relations of Republicans and Democrats with foreign leaders. They always sort of test out the new guy down. Donald Trump is a controversial and a different figure, to put it mildly. But how is this going to change things? Should we worry in the United States about how our president gets along with them? Because you could argue, as I think Donald Trump has kind of in the past, if I'm a hit with them, there must be something wrong. But what do you make of that?
No, I agree with Ashley on the point of it is obvious to me that the president, when he goes over there, he's connecting with somebody who in many ways he admires because of the strength. That strength piece is a connection. On the point of are we surprised that he's going? Not at all. This is something the world is adapting very quickly to Donald Trump, and they understand what he likes. It's what he liked when he went to Poland last week, and it's what he's going to like tomorrow. When he sits up there and he sees the parade, and there's a welcoming, a celebration of America's entrance into World War I, and the tanks are rolling down the street. Donald Trump loves that. And I think the world is adapting much more quickly than people think, maybe even than some of the left in America can understand how this works. And they're appealing to what he's going to like and enjoy. They're showing strength where they need to. And I think that's going to actually forge some pretty good relationships.
Yeah, but let's not go crazy here. It's not as if we're going to fully endorse putting eggs on top of everything. But, Ashley, one of the things I do notice, when we're back to some of the domestic concerns, we're hearing right now that the Senate is going to look at getting a procedural vote on this health care measure they're cooking up. It's still not formally out by early next week. Now, that's coming from Senator John Thune. We heard from a number of guests who are saying the same. That's a big hurdle, too. That's just to get the ball rolling here, and there's the distinct possibility there'll be enough no votes to even prevent that. That could be catastrophic, right?
Oh, yes. And I think this is something, obviously every overseas trip that the president takes, it is a good reset for him, I think. But at the same time, when there's all of this stuff going on domestically at home, between the stuff now going on with his son and the Russian lawyer, he's trying to really put that behind him by resetting on this overseas trip. But then the other thing that's at play is the legislation. This is a key tenet, repeal and replaces, of his legacy moving forward. This was something he ran on. This is something that he promised to his base of supporters, and if it doesn't get done, that does fall squarely on his shoulders. With that said, this is round 3 now, and Paul Ryan's out there saying that the House is going to stay in session if the Senate gets something passed. But I'm not even sure that that's likely, because right now what I'm hearing is that there's a few different versions of this. So what ends up happening if, again, we get into August recess, which is now going to be, prolonged and extended and whatnot, trying to get stuff done here, which is great. They're finally getting their job done. But I don't know that this actually results in a deal that people can get behind in the Republican Party.
Kevin, one of the things we're hearing is that just to get to that is proving a hurdle. For example, Senator McCain is on the wires now saying that the new Senate health care bill really doesn't seem to address a lot of Arizona concerns. Of course, he's an Arizona senator. I believe he's referring to the fact that older folks there are running out of options and paying a lot more for the options they are getting. Enter Ted Cruz, who has a plan that might make that even worse for older patients. And of course, those two famously do not get along. Without getting into the palace intrigue here, how raucous do you think this is going to get?
Well, I think it's tough right now, and this is the challenge. As President Trump goes out of the country to kind of get a reset, he likes that more. He needs somebody here from his administration to be leading. This is one where he needs the political capital. They have to get involved. It seems like there is no way that a deal in the Senate is reached unless this administration is actively involved, but that takes them having the political capital to bring some of the Freedom Caucus together.